we have broken children that turn into broken teenagers that turn into broken men, and then those broken men go and have children, and they turn into broken babies that turn into broken teenagers that turn into broken men. And we just continue that cycle. And I don't want my son to be a lost 30-year-old, like I was.
Right, how am I going to start this? There's going to be less laughs in this one, isn't there? I'm Iman Amrani and I'm a journalist at The Guardian, and I do a series called Modern Masculinity, which looks at the issues affecting men today. I've decided to come back and kind of do a different variation of the series, focusing just on mental health and men, because a lot of men did ask me to do that the first time around. And secondly, because with COVID-19 and all of the uncertainty that people are living through, a lot of people are at home, a lot of people feel isolated, and it's something that is affecting everybody. So yeah, the first episode I wanted to do is looking at employment, because I think that traditional ideas of men and masculinity kind of state that men are supposed to be providers, they're meant to be breadwinners, their job is kind of very, very important to their identity. And we might be in 2020 and things may have changed, but I do think that a lot of those ideas are still present. I wanted to go and speak to some people about how this was affecting them, and I was in touch with Neil, who was in season 1. He owns a number of barbershops in the north of England and is based in Leeds.
We need men talking to men. But there are no male figures talking to 18, 19, 20-year-olds saying, look, life's going to be brutal. Malevolence is waiting for you. Evil is waiting for you. Hard times are waiting for you.
We spoke about the need for meaning and responsibility and how important it is to have that in order to be able to hold on to something when challenges come. And I mean, if this time isn't a challenge, I don't know what is. I wanted to ask him how his ideas are kind of serving him at this time, how his mental health is, and what his concerns are for his employees and for the future. Neil, how are you? I'm good. Huh? I look like a different person. What, straight hair? Oh my goodness. Hello. I'm good. Nice to see you. I remember you shook your bum on the last video.
I did, yeah. I got a few comments on it last time.
It was like Tinder for you last time, wasn't it? All the messages you got after that show.
Yeah, this is a different shop. They used to have a smaller shop upstairs. This is massive. And there are more barbers than clients at the moment. So, walk me through since I was last here filming, what's gone on the past 2 years up until COVID.
We started pre-lockdown with 15 barbers. When we came back in July, we were down to 8, and we dropped by 50%. So when we opened up in July, that week was insane. So we did like a month worth of business in the first week, and maybe naively we kind of thought, oh cool, everything's back to normal. And then after that week, it just fell over a cliff.
Why do you think that happened?
We're a luxury. So when guys are still on furlough or they've had to take a dip in salary and so much uncertainty around, the first thing that people do is they get rid of the luxuries.
And so you were saying you went from 15 people to 8. What happened to those 7 people that you lost?
We've had 3 people that left to go and get other jobs. So people that have been barbers for sort of 10, 15 years just simply weren't making enough money. So you had guys that love being here, love being barbers, they're trained, that's what they've done their entire working career, that are now working in care homes.
So that's your employees, but what about you?
So I come from a very, very working class family, so I was used to growing up with no money. We had no money until I was sort of 17, 18, managed to get into kind of the bottom kind of the middle class. So we had 10 years of living really comfortably compared to where I came from. All of that's gone now. So this is the brokest I've been in the last sort of 10 years.
When you say the brokest you've been, can you explain I don't know, difference from pre-lockdown to now? What impact does that have on you?
For the first month or so it's fine, you've got some savings, you've got some reserves. And then it got to the point, and this is the same point that we're in now, where there is no excess money. There's a deficit now. So now we've gone from being able to book a holiday whenever you want. You want to go for a meal, cool, let's go for a meal. You need some new jeans, cool, let's go buy some new jeans. To now going, right, I've got £20, I've got to take my son to football, I need £10 in fuel for the next 3 days, and there's going to be £10 for food. So that's how steep the decline was.
And how worried are you going into a lockdown? They've announced the new lockdown starts after tomorrow. So how are you feeling another potential 4 weeks?
No amount of worry or anxiety that I put into this situation is going to fix it. So my only alternative now is to find solutions to it. So, and I know that me worrying about it isn't a solution. It's just a coping mechanism, and if you do that too long, nothing moves forward. But I'm very concerned for the guys that work for me.
So Maka,
Yeah,
it's been 2 years.
it has. It's flown by, hasn't it?
Maka is 24 now, and like many of the barbers here, he's self-employed and therefore doesn't qualify for furlough. Without over 2 years of tax returns, he isn't eligible for any substantial support. How's the journey been on the past 8 months?
I think I speak for most, especially most people my age, that it's not been fun at all. I found I've been sitting in my room quite a lot and just dwelling on how shit it is for everyone.
What with it being a series on masculinity, I feel like for a lot of guys, their work and their job is quite central to who they are.
Yeah, definitely.
So having that taken away or put on hold or put in a lockdown, what's that impact kind of been?
You don't want to be not earning money. You don't want to be having to ask people for money. All I got really was universal credit, which worked out at about £90 a week. That's all I could get.
So what would you do if, say, for example, you can't do barbering and universal credit isn't covering stuff? Do you have a plan or any thoughts of what you could do?
There's two options. I would have to probably look for work with my dad, who's in construction, and then as much as most barbers probably won't want to admit this to the public, but a lot of them will look to just cut hair at home, which obviously is against the law. But when you're getting to a point where you're not getting any income, the government aren't helping out, it's I don't know what they expect us to do. You've got your back against your wall with it, really.
Going into these next 4 weeks, how are you feeling, honestly?
Nervous.
What are you nervous about?
For the 4 weeks that we're definitely in lockdown for, I can't work.
Dara is 21, and after spending the first lockdown working in construction, he's looking for more work during second lockdown. Worried about covering his rent, he's applied for a job in a warehouse.
I always feel a sense of, not worthlessness, but that you're not really a man if you're not working. I don't really know how to describe it. You just feel like you're not really getting anywhere, especially as a man as well. I think it's a massive pride thing.
That's strange, that's your male conditioning,
Yeah.
We don't even realise we're being male conditioned. It's really quite weird, isn't it?
It's funny because I think there's a massive conversation now on how men don't have to be men all the time, and you can open up and stuff. But as much as we say that, I think it's still inbuilt in us.
Yeah,
we still have them values.
When I last interviewed you, you talked about the need for meaning and responsibility. You said you need an iron rod, if you will, that will help you weather a storm. I remember it almost verbatim.
Hard times are waiting for you, and prepare them then, and tell them that the antidote to that is to find meaning now, so that when those times come, you have an iron rod, if you like, to hold on to, that will get you through that storm.
And it's so mad that now is kind of that storm.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you're practicing what you were preaching before?
Yeah, I do. My business is my business, and I love it, and the guys that work for me, I love them, and I want it to do well and be successful. But if it doesn't, it doesn't, and no part of my personality is connected to it. And the only two choices that any of us have really got when you reduce things right down, to the most fundamental elements, is either you're going to get through it or you're not going to get through it. And surviving something like COVID is more than just going bankrupt. Me surviving this, or other people surviving this, is the ability to lose and then to recoup and then to build again.
So yeah, I guess I just wanted to broadly ask you about mental health, your mental health, how you approach that sort of thing a bit more specifically.
So in my 20s, I had no idea who I was. In my early 30s, I had no idea who I was. I didn't realise at the time, but looking back now, probably a constant state of mild depression, probably for 10 or 15 years. So it's something that we all suffer from. It shouldn't be something that we use now as a label to excuse ourselves of the responsibility that we have to fix and heal ourselves. And it's a responsibility that only we have. It's that simple. It's not the NHS, it's not the government, it's not your wife's responsibility or your kid's responsibility. Yeah, I remember thinking when Kobe, my son, was born, this will be the catalyst for me being the man that I want to be. This will lead to all the changes that I've tried to implement and failed before. And it did for 6 months or a year. And then you try dealing with that, and that's really scary. I'm a father now, and I'm still making certain mistakes. And it was at that point I realised, actually, no, there is no outside stimulus that's going to fix me. You know, I hate that term, but there's no outside stimulus that's going to make me be whole or give me the sense of direction and purpose to navigate in the world. None.
Would you say that there's been like a moment where you were particularly worried or in the past 8 months, or do you think you've like
I worry all
generally
the time.
been?
I worry all the time now.
And like, you worry about money, we've talked about the employment and stuff, like what would you say though for you is like the main concerns?
I'd probably say what all these factors are going to do to my mental health long term. So I actually had a counsellor just before lockdown. This is the most like frustrating thing really. I was struggling quite badly, just mentally and stuff. And just as I felt I was starting to get somewhere, lockdown happened. I'm just worried now I might end up back in that bad state. It's a little bit colder, it's a little bit hard to go out and exercise. Gyms are closed. It's like I'm hearing about how many people are like killing themselves and stuff because they're just locked away, they can't go anywhere, they've got no one to talk to, they can't meet friends, can't meet family. And something's got to change really, like quickly.
I love coming in. I book Macca every time because he's my barber. I come in to speak to Macca, not just to get a haircut.
And I'm cutting into your time here, aren't I?
A little bit, but I don't mind.
How are you feeling? Just you, yourself?
It's lonely. It's lonely. I miss my dogs, I miss my mum, but there's not a lot you can do about it, so you just have to grit your teeth and push through.
Neil was saying that he's got quite a strong philosophy on the fact that no one's going to come and save you, and that you essentially have to take responsibility for yourself. And
Oh, yeah.
how do you guys feel about that philosophy?
I like it because there's no princess or prince coming to save us. It'll never happen, will it? So we've got to save ourselves.
Looking at your son, Kobe, do you worry looking at the way the world is going for him?
In one sense, yes, and in another sense, no. Well, he's 9 next, so you know he's going to get to a point when he gets to secondary school where he's spending more time with his peers and teachers than he spends with me or his mum. So in that respect, it's worrying because this is not a culture or a society that, in my opinion, is going in the right direction. But I also paradoxically don't worry because I trust my ability to parent him correctly. The conversations I have with him now, even as a 9-year-old, are all about who do you want to be? What does strength look like, Kobe? What does maturity look like? What does sacrifice look like? What's acceptable to cry about? What's not acceptable to cry about?
Do you tell him there's things that he shouldn't cry about?
Absolutely.
What kind of things?
Unashamedly, yeah. In fact, it happened last week, and other parents looked at me like I was a scumbag. So toughness is a big thing for me, okay? So since he's been 2, I breed toughness into him, okay?
Jesus.
And that's, no, it's not, you know, I'm not doing it with sticks or anything like that. You know, he doesn't get a beating. But the reality is, right, if you want to boil everything right down, you either do it or you don't. You live the life you want or you don't. You're either beaten or defeated. You either live or you die. You've got to make things that simple at some point, otherwise you can't move forward. I never, ever, ever, not once in 9 years, have I allowed my son to leave my presence without telling him that I love him. Not once, not ever. You know, I kiss him, I cuddle him, I'm trying to get... It's the only thing I get emotional about. Ironically, it's because I love him that I want him to be tough, but to recognise what that looks like and to what a man should be, and to teach him that life is innately hard. Because that 9-year-old will, in a heartbeat, become a 16-year-old, and in a heartbeat, he'll become a 30-year-old. And I don't want my son to be a lost 30-year-old, you know, like I was.
That was quite powerful that you were talking about your son not crying, and then you like cried, and then I guess the reason that you did that is because you think that is what matters.
Yeah, I cried because it's worth crying about. You know, their names are sacred to me, and that's the way it should be. And this is when you come back to the mental health thing, this is why it's so important, because we have broken children that turn into broken teenagers, that turn into broken men, and then those broken men go and have children, and they turn into broken babies, and turn into broken teenagers, turn into broken men, and we just continue that cycle. You know, it's because we don't have difficult conversations about, one, what does masculinity look like? What is it to be a man? We talk about toxic masculinity and misogyny and all of these terrible labels that we put on young men, and that somehow they're their desire to succeed or to be forthright is somehow toxic. And we wonder why everybody is suffering with mental health and why suicide is through the roof. And nobody wants to go backward and say, well, why is this? Why? How complicit were we as a society in this?
That was much more intense than I was expecting, Neil.
I'm pissed off that you made me cry.
I made
Like
you
that.
cry. Take responsibility.
Right. Touche.
If there are any things that you really would like me to talk about that you want to see us try and do a video about during lockdown related to men and mental health, write a comment underneath, or you can get at me on Twitter. My Instagram is @ImaniAmrani. Like, comment and subscribe to stay up to date with what we're doing. It's not going to be weekly, it's going to be sporadic. We are really just trying to work with what's going on, but hopefully throughout all of that something positive can happen.